Two companies planning to build wind farms in central Indiana are facing opposition because of health concerns. It's not uncommon for wind farm projects to be contested. There are at least 7 groups in the state that either oppose wind turbines in their counties or want stricter ordinances. But there's not a lot of research that definitely links turbines to negative health outcomes. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Rebecca Thiel reports on what scientists have to say.
Mariah Mershon's 7-year-old son, Jameson, has Dravet syndrome.
You ready?
A rare form of epilepsy. A lot of things can trigger a seizure for him. Overstimulation, extreme temperatures, sounds, flashing lights. Mershon says they've done a lot of work to make their home a safe space for him.
We had some trees in the front yard. Well, when the sun would set in the evening, it would shine through into this room, and when the wind would blow, the branches would move, and that was enough to set him off into a seizure. So my husband had to cut the trees down.
But these open fields near Mershon's country home could soon be dotted with wind turbines. 2 wind companies are planning projects in Montgomery County, and Mershon worries shadow flicker, a kind of strobe effect from wind turbine shadows, could be another trigger.
It may come to the point where we have to say, we have to move.
Other residents are worried about less severe symptoms, like sleeplessness, headaches, ears ringing, dizziness, and nausea, something often called wind turbine syndrome. Though few reputable reports show any link between wind turbines and health, there are some areas that could use more long-term study. Let's start with shadow flicker. This is a video taken from a resident who lives near a single turbine owned by West Central School Corporation in Pulaski County. According to the Epilepsy Society, there's a possibility this strobe effect could trigger a seizure for 3% of epileptics.
But one of the worst contexts is where the turbine blade shadow covers a window, cuts across a window, because then the illumination of a room, regardless of where you are in that room, is fluctuating. And that can be very disturbing, not only for people with epilepsy, but everybody else.
Whether or not someone with photosensitive epilepsy has a seizure from shadow flicker depends on a host of factors. In general, Wilkins says said person would have to stand fairly close to the turbine and look at it during sunrise or sunset hours. His research shows the person would be most at risk standing within the restricted safety distance for most turbines, which for a 500-foot tall turbine would be about 550 feet. But under the right circumstances, they could still have a seizure, even if they were 50,000 feet away, more than 9 miles. Wilkins says a highly sensitive person like Jameson Mershon would likely be affected if a wind turbine were nearby. Another main concern people have about wind farms is infrasound, the low-frequency sound that a wind turbine gives off as it turns. A lot of things in our world make infrasound, from household appliances and cars to ocean waves and even our own heartbeat. Amir Farbood co-authored one of the first peer-reviewed articles on infrasound and wind turbines. He says it's clear wind turbines produce infrasound, and that exposure to infrasound could affect how the inner ear works.
But what you cannot do is put 2 and 2 together and make 5. You cannot say infrasound from wind turbines causes wind turbine syndrome, because there isn't the clinical evidence out there to make that conclusion.
But some researchers say just the act of worrying about wind farms can cause health problems.
We have an expression, someone's worried sick about something, and that's what can happen. If you're experiencing anxiety, you can manifest that anxiety in physically measurable symptoms.
Chapman says it can affect things like your heart rate, blood pressure, and how you sleep. Erin Baker is the Senior Development Manager with Apex Clean Energy, one of the wind companies hoping to build a wind farm in Montgomery County. She's set up at an office in Crawfordsville, where Baker says she makes herself available to hear resident concerns.
We do take all their concerns, no matter who they are, very seriously. And so I think transparency and communication is the biggest thing that we've been trying to do.
But Baker says at the end of the day, any kind of business is bound to have some sort of impact on residents nearby. That's unlikely to comfort Mariah Mershon and her family.
We're for green energy. It's just, I don't want something that's harmful to my son right next to my house.
Both wind companies say they're still leasing land from interested parties and haven't decided where the turbines will go. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Rebecca Thiel.